episode brought to you specifically during the holiday months. If you're watching this versus listening, you'll see our added decoration that I picked up at Home Depot for our podcast studio, aka sale facility, aka camp facility.
He's real proud of this little decoration.
It's a very nice $25 spent at Home Depot. I think they did good. We could have turned it around to where the pine cones were sticking forward. But if you're only listening to this, I'm just trying to give you a visual of my little addition to our podcast. But excited to do this episode today. Before we get into that, just wanted to say thanks to all of you that listened to the first episode, or two if you want to count the intro as one. It's been fun to see the response as we've gotten going. It's been fun to see the questions that y'all sent in, or should I say questions, the topics y'all sent in that you'd like for us to cover, and maybe we can just start with that by saying if there's something going forward that you want to hear from us, shoot us an email at showpigcentral@gmail.com. Send us a text message if you got our cell. If not, that's easily accessible. Shoot us a message on our Brockman Farms Facebook page. But we would love to hear from you guys. And again, we want to talk about on here what y'all want to hear about. So thanks again to those of you that have already taken us up on that. And you're added into the log. So I'll say it officially here. But anyways, yeah, it's good to be back sitting down here and going at it again. So I'm your host, Josh Brockman, along with my lovely bride, Carrie Brockman, co-host of the podcast. So we've got one that we've kind of wanted to do pretty quick, set out today. So it's finally cooling off in the southern tundra rainforest of Montgomery, America, where we live. And with that, we can maybe attempt at our episode today of growing just a little bit of hair on our show picks. So today we're going to talk about, I've got titled in my notes for the outline, hair, and hair. It's something that, another descriptive of the show pig industry. There's a good chance if you're listening to this, you're either very much a fan or very much a hater of this trait, this quality on show pigs. So either side that you're on, welcome. We're glad you're here.
Yeah, and leading up to us recording this, I couldn't help but think, there's going to be somebody that sees this title of this episode and rolls their eyes. And if that's you, by all means, just keep scrolling and don't hate on us about this. Me? Well, I know it's not you because we're not hair haters. It's something that I just have it's just something to think about. I have a hard time with any trend in the show pig deal that requires a kid to spend more time and at the barn and work harder and think outside the box of ways to problem solve, to maximize the genetic potential of an animal. I just have a hard time seeing that as a bad thing. It only takes a few seconds to calculate daily gain. So,
no, we'll give you the headings and kind of our somewhat plan if we can attempt to stay on course here. But yeah, there is I wouldn't say there's never the case, but no different than any other practice of when you come into the ring. A pig that's hair is perfectly in line or going different directions on purpose, and longer and denser and coarser and pretty, just like a show steer or show sheep or show goats or wethers or ewes or whatever all those things are. Other than chickens and rabbits, maybe rabbits too. I don't know. Some of them are fluffy. But, it takes a lot of work, I think, is what you're
and I think that's a good thing. I'm not, hating on the commercial industry. I think the commercial industry has its place. I think the show pig rules has its place. I think they're nothing alike, and I think that's okay.
So just we'll give you a little behind the scenes. This is our second take because we had some technology difficulties. I'm having difficulty speaking now, but and we kind of got on a ramp about
a tangent.
The tangent between the commercial industry and the show pig industry. So if you'd like to go down that road, I've got an outtake that I can send you. We won't go into it as much this time, but there's bound to be somebody listening that says hair doesn't matter.
We don't eat it.
We don't eat it. And my rebuttal to you would be, we don't eat bone or neck.
Well, those same people usually don't like big-legged ones.
Right.
Or don't see the point.
Yeah, no. And you know what? From their viewpoint, I agree with them. That's just not the industry that I'm in.
Right. Yeah, both industries have places. They have different objectives and goals. It's good for show kids to know what's good in the commercial industry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And vice versa. So
no, and I think a good friend of mine that I won't name, and I've talked about this, and really, if you pull up the ideals in the commercial industry, and say this is what we want them to look like, that there's no show pig. The worst show pig that you've seen doesn't measure up. And if you go to Seaboard in Oklahoma and you walk through the commercial floors, there's the production traits that we want to try to emphasize, and then there's 100 feet, and then there's 1,000 more feet, and then there's the commercial pigs. They don't. It's literally two different industries now.
Yeah. Granted,
I understand that all show pigs end up in the food chain, and production practices and them being skeletally right, all of these, I think that matters. I think those, and they build off of a commercial principle of commercial pigs running out on a grower floor, no different than cattle running out in a commercial, out in the pasture or out in a feed yard. I think those things matter. They matter to me. They just matter to me for different reasons than what the commercial pig industry, in my opinion, from a distant view, has the separation between the two. Both matter, both have similarities from that standpoint, but I still think for different goals and different endpoints.
And getting back on the topic of hair,
here we go again. Down the commercial industry.
Yeah, we're getting on a rabbit trail. But getting back on the topic of hair, I remember when I worked at the meat lab at A&M, and those bears would come through from Houston and San Antonio, and they were clipped too tight, and it makes it harder to get that hair off. So, like everything in the show pig world, we swing the pendulum from one extreme to the other. Irregardless, if you're going to be competitive at a Texas major or pretty much any big show, it helps to have hair. Love it, hate it, or don't care about it. We care about it because we think our bears look better when they're hairier.
Well, I think that's just in general the I don't know just the thought of it of animals that if I run two of them out here and they just measure the same in every regard, that's obviously not theoretically possible. But let's just say, for the sake of the analogy, and one of them's denser, coarser, longer hair than the other one, he's going to look better. He's going to look denser. He's going to look broader. He's going to look chunkier. He's going to look fresher. All of these things. And so he's, if they measure the same and everything else, well, then he's got to be first.
You know, a really good example of this that I have a picture of on my phone?
What?
Is our dog Lulu and Mom's dog Okie. They're both frail and don't have a lot of body, but Lulu's a doodle, an Aussie doodle, and has a whole bunch of hair.
She's pretty, though.
And Okie, my mom's dog, is a mini rat or some kind of terrier.
He's fat, that's what he is.
Anyway, huge difference. I mean, I took a picture one time and talked about, like, this is this is the difference in hair.
And
anyway, I think we've harped on that enough.
Yeah, no, there's a difference. It matters.
Yeah.
I said this in the first take that y'all never see, but 2 years ago at Kansas City, Boble, and he's going through, I thought he addressed it perfectly. He said, we're going to use hair today as a descriptive. We're not going to necessarily make it all positive or all negative. It's going to be just as you would evaluate. And again, it's an essential. And if it didn't matter, then what do we clip them for in any regard? And all, we clip them tighter in certain areas to accentuate traits. We try to grow them hairier to accentuate traits. I mean, extremely hairy, frail-boned one's still frail-boned and hairy. Like, it's just what it is. Now, an extremely hairy, big-boned one is even prettier. But irregardless, we're going to try to frame the discussion today in a few different areas. We're going to frame it under, I guess, four main headings. The first one being selection. The second one being barn setup. So the first one will be selection just in general, and then the next three will kind of be practical application after you've got pigs on feed. So barn setup, hair management as far as just daily practices of what to do with them, and some different things that we've begun to do over the last few years that I think help. And then finally rounding out on feeding and additives. And anyways, when we get to that point, we'll make note of each one of them. So just to kind of kick off and get started, we'll just talk about selection. And in general, I don't know if this is a one-size-fits-all. I don't know if any of it's a one-size-fits-all, but specifically in selection, I don't think that there's a necessarily certain indicators that you can go and say, I looked between this one's eyes or behind his forearm or the inside of his back leg or his tail, and say he's going to be hairy as a big one. Maybe you have some thoughts on that. I know Carrie does.
Well, it goes back to, I grew up showing cattle, and so when we would try to select our Fort Worth steer, we would look at how hairy their ears are. If they have real hairy ears, like I had an Angus steer one time that had the hairiest ears his entire life, and he was probably the hairiest steer I ever had. So that was kind of the correlation. Back to what Josh said, there's probably an indicator in pigs that somebody smarter than us has picked up on. It, like he said, it might be how hairy their legs are. Maybe it's how hairy their ears or their tails are. I don't know. But we do know that certain genetic lines are hairier than others.
Yeah, I would say, now I'm not going to speak for anybody else and say that everybody considers this as again, another descriptive, another selective trait when they're breeding their sows. I would be naive to think that a lot didn't. I know for me that I do. I mean, it's not like number one or number two, but it's in the cards, and it's interesting. Different sow lines that it's almost a protection point, because I can get in the gator and go over to the farm and show you sow lines that I have to somewhat protect from that standpoint, or they will be bald and hairless regardless of all the other things. And brown, yeah. It's yeah. So
skin color, and
genetic standpoint, no doubt. Darkness of pigment and coarseness and length of hair go hand in hand.
And that doesn't mean, y'all are probably saying, okay, well, we got it. Certain boars make them hairier than others. So what do we do with that? Well, I mean, if you find a good one, we're not saying to select again, if he's brown and looks like he's not going to be very hairy, but just realize you're going to, like, we have one on feed right now. We're fighting a little bit more with that. We knew from the get-go that he probably wasn't going to be as hairy.
No, it's no different than every other part of this that you want to consider. Just it be part of your consideration. Can I deal with that? I can take some of those pale, skinny, hairless ones and put them on a hill in the Panhandle of Texas and make some things change. So it's just going forward. Cadence Barra, if I don't change the intro, which I probably will this week, but that one Austin, he was not the hairiest pig at the pig show. He wasn't in the top 50% of the hairiest pigs at the pig show. And never was his whole life. And we worked extremely hard to get him to the point that he was from that particular trait. But kind of knew that going in. But he was a good pig. Again, it's kind of like bone. I love a big, square, loose, functional, awesome hind leg more than anything in the world when it comes to a show pig. Not every time when you sit down and judge do you find that specific trait on the one that ends up being the best. So, yeah, but that's what we're talking about today. So, anyways, genetically, I think it matters. I think that's a conversation if you're buying pigs to have with your breeder, if it's a concern. But again, it's one part of a consideration, and really for me, it's almost a expectation of what you're going to have to do from a management standpoint going into it. Right. Some of them are hairier than others easily. Wide awakes are as hairy as any pigs I've ever seen in my life. Best mans for their time were as hairy as all get out. Building speed here, those pigs had hair. They'd be hairless now in comparison with the progression. But you
say that, and I remember Weston Lackey's Barrow, that one San Antone. What year was that? 19?
Yeah, maybe.
No, Caden won in 18, I think.
18. 18.
For that time, that was the darkest, hairiest pig that I can remember.
Well, hey guys, I hope you're enjoying this episode of Show Pig Central, and just wanted to touch in a second and offer you a discount on the Brockman Farms online store for you being a listener and supporter of the show. So for a limited time, as long as supplies last, if you will go to brockmanfarms.com and click on the shop link, We are giving you listeners of Showpig Central a promo code for $10 off your first order of Big Wig. Either size, 10 or 20 pounds, you'll receive a $10 discount for your first order. So go to the Brockman Farms online store at brockmanfarms.com, click on the shop link, and enter the promo code CENTRAL with a capital C followed by the number 10. So that's CENTRAL 10 with a capital C, and you'll receive $10 off your first order of Big Wig for a limited time as long as supplies last. Do that now, and again, thank you for listening to Showpig Central, and now back to the show. Lots of instances you think of. It's funny. Anybody, you go walking down the wall and looking at pigs that won. Even now, I think we'll get off topic here, but just the progression that breeders make that pigs have made over the last 3 years. And it's almost like technology. Like the more it expands, the quicker the progression comes. Now, not all of it's progression. There's trial and error, and there's one step forward and two steps back in certain instances. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely fast.
All right, barn setup.
So, setting up your show pig barn, and again, most of you listening to this probably have pigs and have a barn, but the few things that we'll talk about the most is temperature, hair stimulation, the way you have your wash rack set up, blowing pins, etc. I personally, if you were to ask me what's the ideal temperature for a pig, and I'm basing this on absolutely nothing but my own experience and zero scientific whatever, and if I could make a temperature for a show bearer, and I'm saying that weighs 150 pounds till show weight, 125 pounds till show weight, something like that, not a baby pig. If I was to say what temperature could I keep it all the time, I would say 45 degrees would be perfect.
Yeah.
Now, some of you out there smarter than me and probably think colder or warmer. That's fine. But if I could keep it 45 all the time, I would do it.
Do you know how many days it's 45 or lower in Montgomery? Like
less than
10.
Right now it's 68.
68 and raining.
A few days after Thanksgiving.
And, you know, this is a topic that is growing hair, whether it's on pigs or cattle. Man, I feel like I have fought it my entire life because I've lived down here in South Texas. And we grow in one of the top 5 worst places in the state of Texas to grow hair. Southeast Texas, the only people that's worse are the ones that are south of us, where it's more humid.
That would be you, Mr. Pashada.
Yeah, well, it's
I don't know if
drier
it's more
there,
humid
but
there,
yeah,
you're south of us.
If you're in
hot.
Galveston, it's more humid and it's worse. Anyway, we face an uphill battle. This time of year, every year when Josh goes to check bears in West Texas, it just kind of makes me cringe because I know he's going to come back and say how much hairier and more mature those bears look compared to ours. And so when we talk about barn setup, we are literally trying to emulate a West Texas, panhandle of Texas setting in Montgomery, Texas, which is hard because we fight humidity and hot temperatures.
Right. For you in Oklahoma, you would be a similar setup that we're wanting to imitate. We just don't have to show against you in February and March.
Caden made me laugh the other day because he's been getting up and rinsing the Fort Worth steers real early every morning for a while now. And I said something. I said, well, you know, it's hot everywhere in Texas. It just hasn't gotten cool yet. And I had seen where somebody in the panhandle, it was 94, and he laughed and he said, well, I just think that's fair. You know, it's only fair that they're hot too. So we always kind of laugh at the weather. We look at the weather in the panhandle and see how much, what the difference is and what we're having to fight down here. But irregardless, when that comes to barn setup, we have tried to move as much air as possible. Josh talked about that 45 is the best. And again, I want to emphasize this is not babies when you're bringing them in. This is bears when they're 150 pounds or bigger. And we have a few that are smaller than that in this setup. But we have left the fans on when it's been cooler this time.
Pretty much all the time.
Pretty much all the time. We have fans moving in the alley, fans blowing over the pins. You know,
yeah, I could have titled this episode "Fans, Fans, and More Fans."
Yeah,
because we really just if you don't have any fans, go buy some fans and turn them on, blow them on your pig.
Yeah.
But you guys that are mold SPC would understand this the most. But I mean, stimulating their hair is probably the most important thing. Whether by fan moving air, rinsing them, blowing them, the more that you can stimulate their hair and keep them clean and their pores clean. And we're going to touch on that a little bit more when we get down the list a little bit. But hair stimulation makes things happen. It does. So yeah, we have fans over it, like Carrie said, in the alleys, blowing, stirring air over every pin. And unless it's below 45, they're running. They're on.
Yeah.
And so now, if it's not a go from 70 to that big 30-degree weather swings, we have to be a little more mindful of health and some of that.
We've kind of worked them up to that.
Yeah, it's a progression, I guess, and they get a little bit of that in just our barn, the way it's set up with the exhaust fans and our in and out runs, where air's constantly pretty much pulling across them. Again, I've got that part of the barns, the temperature deal set at 45. So if it's above 45, both of our exhaust fans are running, pulling air through those design spots that are pulling air across them. So yeah, between fans and the temperature, you're going to get a long ways the right way. I would say 10 years ago, if you would have asked me what my ideal temperature was, I'd have said 55 probably, or 59 even. Completely just have a different.
Is this rain going to mess us
Nah,
up?
it'll be fine.
Okay. And it's funny, I know when Caden first started showing, I wanted to keep the barn too warm, and it was more from a health perspective. But like Josh mentioned, we have those in and out runs, and I'll never forget the bear that Cam won Fort Worth with. When they were at Denver, it was 10 degrees here, and he was in his outside run outside.
Yeah.
He hung out in the 10-degree weather, and he liked that. And he's probably the hairiest pig we've ever had.
Right. No, I mean, you can watch them on that, especially. I mean, they'll tell you, like, that pigs like it cold.
Now, you got to use some common sense with this, too. Like we had one that was a little bit off last night, and so we took the fan where it wasn't blowing on him.
Yeah.
If you have one that goes off feed or gets sick or has a respiratory deal, you got to use some common sense from that perspective. And I guess if we just go into kind of you want to go into our daily practices with that? Or so basically we kind of have a weekly schedule where we do certain things. Like on Mondays we prolate. On Tuesdays and Thursdays we will rinse and put product on them. But every morning starts with rinsing. And that includes when it's very cold. And so what we've started doing is rinsing them and putting them in these pens with fans on them. And so like yesterday, we rinsed and we didn't blow them dry. I basically just kind of let them dry underneath those fans.
Right.
Took a steer comb and fluffed their hair up some just to try to get that hair off their body, and put them up.
No, and I would just chime in there a second. If you have the time or can make the time, and I'm not even saying that we always have it, but if you can blow them out before you rinse them, I personally, I think that helps quite a bit. You blow it, just like with cattle or just like with anything else, you want to blow all the dirt out as much or as good as you can, then rinse, and then, if you're going to blow them dry
I need
again.
my electrician to make it where our blower and our rinsing and all that's in the same spot.
I'm going to look into the camera. If you didn't realize, I am the electrician.
Okay, so we start the day off by rinsing when it's cool, and then we might tan, or it kind of depends on what the weather looks like. Right now it's pouring rain.
I do think it's important to note that we try to rinse at the coldest part of the day.
Yes.
So again, no different than what most people do with cattle. Rinse them, get them in the cooler, early part of the day when it's dark, that kind of deal. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. But
yeah. So rinsing in the cool part of the day, then you can kind of figure out based on your weekly hair, schedule of what you do next. So like on Mondays, we rinse, we let them dry underneath the fans, and then we prolate. If it's a Tuesday and the sun's out, we might rinse, tan, rinse again, blow them dry, and then put our moisturizing. It's basically Vet Zone oil and Shag Swag mixed half and half. We'll put that on them twice a week. So we kind of like to have a routine, but you're at the mercy of the weather just a little bit. Basically, we have rinsed a lot this year, and I think we're in pretty good shape on hair for where we are and where we live.
I'm happy with it.
Yeah, so But we do put that Vet Zone oil and Shag Swag mix of 50-50 on them once or twice a week, just to make sure that we're not drying their skin out too much from rinsing and blowing. And Camlin does really like to use that round steer comb. I should have brought that with me to get that hair off of their body, just like we do with steers. You want to get that hair off of their body. You don't want it matted down on there. So.
Yeah, that's and we won't get into probably training their hair to go one way or the other and this type of deal in this episode. Well, we might. But, yeah, you need a good well or prepare to have a good water bill because, like Carrie said, rinse some more. I said that earlier. Fans. I mean, we could do a lot of titles here, but makes a big difference. I really like this time doing the rinsing them in the mornings and then letting them air dry under a fan. I know everybody's schedule is different. You could do that, even rinse them, put them back in, and let them eat and air dry under a fan, blowing on their pen. But I think that's making a big difference. And even it's been an ironically warm November. The fans we're using to do that right now, portacles, so we can. And I've ran portacles longer than I ever anticipated, just trying to keep our temperatures cool now that everything's castrated and over that and.
Yeah, with all this said, on the rinsing part, we weren't doing a whole lot of this until we got them past the castration point.
Yeah, mainly for the fact of keeping them healthy before you have to knock them down to
keep their lungs good and all that. So we are past that point in this set to where everybody's good and we're not, worried about that as much.
Right, and most of the time, unless if we're ever speaking in generalities, it's all a process working towards an endpoint. So no different than with cattle or with anything else. They've all got a hair cycle. I'm not even going to pretend to act like I understand hair cycles, but there's always a time to get going and get things right. I mean, right now we're 50, 60 days from Denver, 100 and some odd days from Houston, and all of that stuff in between. So, I mean, we're really just now starting to get after it.
And thankfully, in our show schedule in Texas, we do not have to fight them shucking hair. Like even our county is in the middle of April, and we don't have to fight that too much. Like the boars don't really shuck their hair till May, most of the time here. I know a lot of you guys, if you're in the Midwest, y'all have to fight that in the first part of August, and thankfully we're right in the part where we really don't have to worry about that too much from that standpoint. So,
right now the other thing is we kind of move through daily practices and just stuff. We'll rice root them with a rice root brush. If you don't know what that is, I'll try to maybe kick that up on the video too. But not nearly as often as
once
we
a
used
week.
to. Yeah. So used to, I would say you could rice root those a pig, every day would be great if you could. I actually think that makes their hair a little bit finer. Personally, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you have the hairiest pigs on earth and you disagree with me. That's okay. Again, just personal experience. But I do think once a week's good. Just to, again, exfoliate their skin. We're trying to keep pores clean and that type of deal. So.
And we probably rice root like the white ones or the blue ones 2 or 3 times a week, maybe. And when I was talking about the Vet Zone oil and the Shag Swag, we don't put that on ones that are white or blue.
Right.
At our barn, we don't. We don't like to ever put any kind of oil on a white one or a blue one. We think it makes them dingy, and they're not just bright white then. So.
Right.
I wanted to clarify on that.
One of the next things that we just started doing the last couple of years that I think makes an immense difference is at night we shut all the lights off. It just kind of, if you show cattle and you put them in a cool room, you can think about that that type of deal of it being dark and again, wanting to get your cycles and timing right. But it just hit me that we leave the lights on. That's making the days. Maybe it doesn't work this way. I have no idea, but it makes me feel better, and it seems like it helped some having it dark when it's dark. So if you don't shut your lights off at night and your pigs aren't as hairy, maybe that's why. Maybe not. Maybe it has absolutely nothing to do with it. But
I think a lot of this, and I think we
it'll
said
help
this.
your electric bill also.
We said this earlier that every individual is different. like I've mentioned Camlin's Fort Worth Bear Rooster. I mean, he would have been hairy no matter where he lived and no matter what you did with his hair. I think we helped it and we made it better and we trained it right and all those things. And I think blowing them out helps, kind of fluff that hair up some to where it gets used to that and it just doesn't always lay flat on their body. Yeah, I mean, every pig is going to be a little bit different from that standpoint.
Right. No, and I think that's, we can maybe kind of just ease in here to the last heading of feeding and additives, and we'll just include products all in one circle. And as we talk about this, it's not going to be a commercial for anything. There are, I actually wish I could count and know how many different hair supplement products are on the market to be sold. And just to add to that, probably how many of them make some sort of a difference in one form or another.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, whether they're melatonin based or they're not and go from another avenue, there's lots of them that we've used over, let's just say, the last 5 years that we've seen positive results out of. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say there's maybe any of them that we've seen 100% consistent results out of.
100%.
Across every pig. And if you find one, either email me or call me or don't tell anybody about it. But, no, I'm kidding. But there are a million options, and we have a broad customer base, and this is one of those areas that I don't necessarily regulate. Like if they want to try something, get after it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The way I stumbled across the ones we like the best now was Caleb using it late in the game on a Dallas Sparrow that didn't have enough hair, and I thought it worked, so we tried it, and here we are. But with that being said, we'll tell you just the things that we do currently use and why we use them and what we see out of them. Let's just start, Carrie, maybe you were talking about Rooster, Camlin's Bear that won Fort Worth, and that was the first set of pigs that we used Shag Swag on.
Yes.
And we used it because we'd seen some other ones on it, and just I liked their hide and their hair texture, and so tried it. And
that was the year that Josh judged Indiana State Fair, and there was a family in particular that their pigs were hairier than everybody else's there. And so I went to the dad and I was like, "Hey, what are y'all using for them to be this hairy in the summertime?" And he told me about Shag Swag. So I found it. It's more of I looked it up online. It's more of a sheep product that they claim that it helps grow hair. So we started using it that 2024 year, and I did think that it helped, and even if maybe if you don't see that it helps them grow hair, which we tend to think that it does, but if you don't see that, there's no doubt it helps the manageability of it. It helped. I know on Rooster's hair, it made it really soft to where we could actually almost like steer hair, where you could kind of train it to go in different directions on his legs.
That's my personal favorite thing on Shag Swag. I do think it makes their hide pretty. It soaks in quick, but it softens their hair where you can actually do something with it.
Yeah.
Now we don't show Durox. I don't know if it'll soften their hair or not, but
I don't want to find out.
On the ones we have, it makes it to where you can actually do more with it. Like Carrie said, like a calf.
Yeah, for sure. So, no, we use Shag Swag, and like I said, on the belted ones, we will mix that with Vet Zone oil, skin and hair oil. We have actually decreased the amount of oil that we put on them. I know we were talking to Blake Danner and having this hair conversation. And
hello, Biscuit.
And I will say that his cruise pigs are always pretty hairy. So we were picking his brain about it, and he made the comment that he thought the homes that he had that used the most oil had the least amount of hair. So we have stopped using as much oil. That's why we actually don't even tan with oil right now. We might the further we get on into the season, especially if we have one that's kind of brown. But we have started tanning without oil. And we only put this Vet Zone skin and hair oil mixed with Shag Swag on them at the most twice a week. And I think our skin and hide looks good. But I do think there's something to that about if you oil every single day. I don't know. They just seem to have thinner hair.
Well, and it makes sense. I mean, again, not a scientist, not a nutritionist, not a whatever you are, dermatologist when it comes to show pig, but it makes sense to me that we were just having this conversation the other day. So when you apply oil, you're obviously naturally going to clog pores and clog. I mean, it's going to make things dirtier and nastier. It's again, it's a necessity in some instances, but it makes sense that with that, clean, dry, pretty skin and hair, and it grows better.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean,
Yep.
it's fact of life. So Shack Swag and Bet Zone oil, though, I do think, I think that's worked really well, at least for us.
Yeah.
Again, a million ways to do it. The other thing on and that's really from a product standpoint, as far as what we put on them and that's it as far as that goes. As far as in the feed, and again, this is where I think you really get into just a vast amount of options and abilities. And in my small brain, I kind of divide this category into melatonin products and non-melatonin products, because, and I would say it's probably 80% melatonin products out there and 20% not.
And I think there's a shift coming in that. Yeah, I think it used to be 90-10, and now we're getting closer to.
Yeah, and I think
now.
because of that, and there's people that we could probably have on that could speak a lot to the science of this, but if you're like me, I just want to know what works, and I don't really have to know exactly why all the time. So we've been one of those that shifted away from melatonin products, not necessarily because, like Carrie said, we don't have to deal with the backside of a hair cycle very often, just because of the time of the year that we get to show. I've just probably seen a more consistent response out of some other ones, and so our main hair supplement, pretty much the only one, not pretty much, right now the only one that we use is by Stock Show Secrets. It's called Big Wig. This was, like I said, like anything that we used, saw one worked and tried it on a few, liked it, tried it on some more, liked it more. And for me, and Carrie can comment more on this, but again, I'll stand by my statement that it's there. I've never come across 100% for 100%, but this has been the most consistent hair supplement product that we've ever used as far as a feed additive goes. Yeah. To me, all of these things we're talking about, Carrie made the statement about Cameron's Bear that won Fort Worth, that he would have been hairy regardless who had him, whether we ever blowed him one time, fed him anything, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But, and then we talked about the other end of that with Caden's Austin Barrow that didn't have much of that. But on both of those, we're trying to maximize what their potential is. And so with any of this product stuff that we're talking about, I think that's the key, and how we treat them. But you're trying to maximize what you have in front of you. And if you're not trying to do that, well, you might need to try something else.
I know a few years back, the hair pills were a big deal. And I think they
like
worked
those.
on some. I think you probably got more length of hair on some than you really did making it any fuller or thicker. But like Josh said, when Caleb used Big Wig that summer on a Dallas Barra and how hairy he was, then we decided to start trying it. We start them on, there's a scoop that comes in that bucket. We start on a half scoop per feeding when would you tell people to start?
I thought that's what you were going to tell them.
Oh, well.
No, 125 pounds-ish. And as a general rule, I think that amount, that 1 ounce, I mean, that's kind of the recommended deal. You're going to hear a lot from me that I don't read labels very good either over time, but I think that's pretty consistent. You could probably cut it a little or up it a little. We've got some that are on double that, that again, we're just trying to accentuate what they got and see if we can catch them up with the rest of them. And that goes for all of it. But yeah, 125 pounds on additives. And we're going to do an episode in the near future on additives in general and supplements and kind of when to start and when to not. And anyways, for another time. But yeah, I would say as a general rule, in this specifically, 125 pounds-ish.
So a half scoop, 125. Typically when they hit 200 or so, then we'll start doing a scoop per feeding. Like Josh said, we have, one right now that we're trying to catch him up. So he's been on a scoop per feeding the whole time.
Right. And what I was going to say on that, it kind of, as we maybe start to sum up here just a little bit. And again, we're going to just kind of open the barn door a little bit on all of these episodes and just tell you kind of what we do and what's worked and what we've seen and maybe what we've seen that doesn't work for us and that kind of deal. And that's basically what this is all going to be about. But that everything we've talked about today, I think is a it's a guiding principle. On bears that need a little more, like we referenced Caden's bear that won Austin, or some that we have on feed now. Like if they can get rinsed every day when it's cold in front of the fan, and other ones can get by with a little less than that, you kind of got to divide and conquer your time and just do what works. But take care of the things that you can take care of, and just try to maximize them the best you can. So.
Yeah, and with that, I mean, like he said, we will start with the bigger ones, or the ones that definitely need to get rinsed first, and then kind of, maybe the smaller county fair Houston bears, they might not get rinsed every day yet. So that kind of helps you prioritize your time from that standpoint. So.
Right. Now, bottom line, I think to take from this is that I've seen the not even close to the hairiest pig be the best pig at the show and win. I've seen the hairiest pig at the show be the best pig at the show and win, and everything in between. But at the end of the day, it matters. And yeah, the more you can accentuate this particular trait, just like any other trait, we want to maximize what we've got in front of us from a muscle standpoint, from a condition standpoint, joints, hair, blah, 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 blah. So hopefully today's episode has helped you with that just a bit, and maybe picked up on one or two things that you can maybe add to your arsenal to do that. So obviously, it goes without saying that we have the Brockman Farms online store. Any of these products that we mentioned, the reason that we have that store is to offer the things that we use ourselves. We try not to include things on there that we don't use, or that we can't tell you how it works from personal experience. So anyways, you can get, I guess, all of that we talked about today on there, if so choose, and go forward. If you've got something that works for you, that you really liked, email me, showpigcentral@gmail.com. I'd like to know. I'm always eager to learn.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and that's a serious note. I would love for you to share it with me. Like I say, there's many different ways to go about it. These are just some of the ways that have worked for us. Hopefully it's been beneficial to you. So with that, any final thoughts, dear?
No, reminder that if you have anything, prayer requests that you would like for us to pray about, we would love to do that for you. So you can text those to us, send them to the Facebook page, or to the showpigcentral@gmail.com account.
Yeah. Anything you got, send it our way. We would love to pray for anyone, any need, and anything you got. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening and watching. And we will see y'all again next week or next time, however often these end up falling out, on Show Pig Central.